Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me for another pandemic update. There is a lot to consider, and there is nothing easy about making decisions right now. So with this update, I want to share a few points that you've probably heard, and then add some perspective that I hope will be helpful. Here's the first point. COVID infections are increasing once again, and we do need to be concerned. The anxiety level is high among us. It is also true that vaccines make all the difference. There are virtually no illnesses or major illnesses or deaths due to the virus among the vaccinated. On the primary site that we use to monitor risk levels, we read this qualification. Risk is reduced for those vaccinated. In other words, a red level risk is for the unvaccinated at this point. Our governor made this point with a red marker during a recent report. So here's the next point. Low vaccination rates are concerning. This reality is keeping us in the midst of a pandemic. And yet here is some good news about vaccination rates that we don't seem to hear. In every state, including ours, 75% of those 65 or older have been vaccinated. Those who are at the most risk are protected at a much higher level than before. This is good news that perhaps can lower our anxiety a bit. Next, breakthrough infections can occur, meaning that a vaccinated person can get the virus and possibly transmit it to others. We are seeing headlines meant to induce fear around this possibility. And yet, according to Dr. Fauci and the CDC, in such cases, the amount of virus is significantly lower, thus making it less likely to be transmitted to others. So this is also good news. Here's the next big fact. Children under 12 cannot yet be vaccinated and thus are vulnerable. Children are getting the virus. The deeper perspective is that children are at a much lower risk for both illness and death. In Arkansas, for example, among the 6,000 deaths where COVID is listed as a cause, there have been no deaths of anyone under 17. And still, because of so many unknowns, we want to be vigilant in providing a safe place for all, especially for our children who cannot yet receive this level of protection. So here's the bottom line in terms of our protocols. We are not going to suspend worship right now. We will certainly continue to provide our online service as well and want to make that available to all. Following CDC guidelines, masks are not required for those who are vaccinated. And yet, as cases increase in all age groups, I want to add that masks are encouraged, especially as we move from place to place and encounter people directly. We also trust that people who are not vaccinated will wear their mask as well, including children. Next, physical distancing of at least 3 feet is also encouraged. And of course, we will continue to keep our building sanitized and we'll continue to use our new HEPA air purifiers in all rooms. By doing these things, we are practicing the call to love one another well. And this leads me to one more point. We hear a lot about the risk associated with the virus. Here is one more risk. The risk associated with not being able to gather and to cultivate the blessing of living from an eternal perspective rooted in God's love. Embracing this risk truly enables us to thrive in a world where living is risky and where nothing is permanent and where faith is the key to living fully. In this light, I encourage all of you to make worship and discipleship a part of your commitment, in person and online. Worship is so important for our well being in mind, in body, and in spirit. As we continue to navigate a pandemic, may God be with us, and may we all grow in our trust that God will see us through. Friends, until we are able to gather again, in person or online, many blessings.